Hi, I'm Aaron Fries, the founder of Level Up SEO, and we've put together a series of videos that are going to teach you in less than an hour the fundamentals of search engine optimization for small businesses. And in addition to teaching you how things work, I'm also going to be giving you specific advice using free online tools about how to get your website structured to have better search engine rankings, and also how to decide what SEO services you really need and which you don't. So in the first part, we're going to talk about how search engines work. And this is important to know because it's actually going to affect your entire website strategy. So there's a couple of key concepts that we have to cover. And the first is one that a lot of people don't actually understand. A lot of people think that when Google and Yahoo and Bing are showing you the results for a search term, that they're bringing up a website. But actually what search engines are looking at are individual web pages on a site, not websites themselves. So, for example, you might have a home page. Let's say your website is about fruits, www.fruit.com. So you've got your home page, which is kind of an overview, but then you have a page that's completely devoted to apples, and one that's for bananas, and one that's for oranges. So if someone's typing in the search term oranges, they're going to get that page that's inside your site, not your home page, right? So this is really important to understand because the big mistake that we see a lot of small businesses make is that they try and cram a bunch of different keywords onto their home page, so all their effort gets completely diluted. Every search term you want to rank for, you should have an individual page devoted to targeting that keyword. Now, what the search engines are actually doing is they have these little programs called crawlers or spiders, and what they're doing is they're actually reading the entire internet all the time. They're running through all of your web pages. If you have a web page, it's probably been crawled by Google, and it looks at everything on the page, and what it's looking for is a couple things. They're trying to evaluate the page. They want to see what the words on your page are. In other words, what is this page about? What is it talking about? But then it's also looking at the links that are pointing to your page from other sites, and it's also looking at the links that you point out to as well. And so these links that are actually pointed to you are really important. A link is like a vote for the quality of the page. So the more links you have, the more a search engine will think that that page is an authority about that subject. So it's really important to have other websites and other web pages linking back to the page that you're trying to rank. So when you're typing into the search bar, what's happening is the search engine actually takes all that information that it's collected about all the websites and compares all of the pages that it thinks are relevant to what you just typed in. And then it's going to show you which one it thinks fits the best out of all of them. So it's going to look at everything that's on the page, plus what are all the links that are pointing at that page saying about that page. Okay, so knowing what's on the page and what's linking to the page is important. What actually makes a page reach number one? Well, there's some things that search engines really care about. They have ways of evaluating a page. And so some pretty important factors are, first of all, how old is the website itself? So you've got your fruit.com. If it's 10 years old, all the pages on that site are going to be a little bit more valuable in the eyes of the search engine. But that's just one factor. Some other factors are, is the page properly labeled? In other words, if you look at the page, look at the top, does the title of the page actually have the keyword phrase in the title? Is it in the web address, the URL? How many times does it show up on the page itself? How many times are you talking about that term? Ranking web pages is an incredibly complicated job. And so if you optimize your page to basically help out the search engines and tell them what the page is about, they're going to actually reward you for that. And then it really wants to know, does it have relevant content? Is the page actually talking about what that person is searching for? And all the search engines are constantly getting better at evaluating pages for this. They know exactly what to look for. And so you've got to make sure that whatever is on that page really is unique and valuable to whoever is finding it. And then the other thing that search engines are starting to really appreciate is when a page is updated consistently. This doesn't mean you have to have a blog and you're constantly adding to it every single day, but it does mean that every month, every 6 weeks, you should be refreshing it, adding new pieces of information to that page and letting it grow over time to show that it's an authority about that subject. Because what that's telling the search engines is that your site is alive and it's active and it cares about the content that it's producing. Now, this is all very important, but what's ultimately going to determine whether you reach page 1 or not is what the search engines really, really care about, which is how many links are pointing to that page from other websites. Where are the links coming from? What kind of websites are linking to that page? So another website with high authority linking to your page is very, very valuable in the eyes of the search engine. In fact, one link from a good authority website linking back to you is worth 1,000 links coming from random personal blogs and other things that aren't any kind of authority on anything. But you do need to have a mix of both quality and quantity. The other thing that search engines are going to look at is the links themselves. How relevant are they to the keyword? And there's 2 ways that they know that. The first is where the link actually appears on the page that's linking to you. So if the link, for example, is at the bottom or in the footer, or it's small, or if it's off on the side, it's actually not as powerful as a link that's directly inside of a long article about something. And the other thing is what the link actually says. So you probably see links all the time for click here and learn more and the actual web address, www.fruit.com. But oftentimes you'll also see links that are actually words about something. So if I have a blog article and in that article the text actually says orange, but when you click on it, it comes to my orange page, that is a really, really valuable link because it says to the search engine this is highly relevant and I'm giving a vote to that page. Search engines also like to see links being added on a pretty consistent basis. So it's much better, rather than dumping 1,000 links in a single week and then leaving it alone completely, because that looks like spam. The better practice is to consistently build links over time and make sure that you're getting links from a lot of different places. And this is all really important because in the beginning, when search engines first really started getting going, a lot of people found it very easy to manipulate the search engine rankings. And so over time, the search engines have figured out how to identify patterns of spammers. So for example, a bunch of links all from the same place. A big spike in links and then no more after that. Or a bunch of links that are completely irrelevant. So it's really important to make sure that you're showing the search engines organically, that is, people finding your content naturally, that your web page about oranges is really the best one out there. So taking all these factors into account really boils down to that the better a page fits the criteria, the higher the page will rank. Now, technically speaking, there's about 200 factors that are known by SEO professionals. And the truth is there's probably more, but it's very difficult to discover them because, of course, Google and Yahoo and Microsoft aren't telling anybody because that opens them up to being, gamed by spammers. So this can sound really complicated, but the truth is when you take it down to the local level and web pages that are just trying to serve a local market, the good news is that the most important factors are the ones that are easiest to control. What's on your page and also what kind of pages are linking to you. So at this point you might be wondering, well, okay, so I've got my web page, but what about my competitors' web pages who are outranking me? How much of my competition is actually competing for these? Well, at the local level, that is, if you're in a town and you're serving a very specific area or region, the competition is almost non-existent. And in fact, the further you get away from a big city, the easier it is for you to compete in getting your web page to the top of Google. In fact, recently Google just went to Vermont and they spent a bunch of time setting up web pages for a bunch of small businesses in the area. And an interesting quote about that from the news was this: 97% of people in the US look for goods and services online. Okay, so 97%. But 63% of businesses don't have a website. So still in this day and age, after a good 10, 12 years of the internet being everywhere, nearly 2/3 of businesses still don't have a site. And this is coming straight from Google. So let's really think about that for a second. So another way of thinking about it is all of your customers, all of them, 97%, they're all looking for your services online. They're going to Google before they go to the Yellow Pages. But everybody is in the Yellow Pages. But online, only 1/3 of your competitors are there because only 1/3 of businesses have web pages. And what's really amazing is when you dig in and you do some analysis about those web pages that are at the top 10, in other words, on the first page of Google, how did they get there? The truth is that they're not even trying. Most of them probably don't even know how they got there. And that means that you have a huge opportunity to come in and for relatively little effort have a very powerful source of bringing in new customers to your business. So I want to get hands-on and show you exactly what I'm talking about by looking at some of these web pages.